Slurp-de-diddly-doo, my G's. I hope you're doing wonderful today. And we have a free plugin here called Spacer, which is by Spectral Plugins. They recently dropped 3 of their plugins for free. What an epic company. Shout out to those guys. This one is sick, and it's going to absolutely make you some well juicy convolution layers, my G's. Well juicy convolution. Grain delays and things, and layers on top of your bass and lead sounds. Here's what I've made for the little loop. And the wonderful thing is, I've used one of my presets from my latest preset pack, Vital Vengeance. There he is, shilling his presets again like an absolute fool. It's Captain Rando this time, and I've changed the LFO speed to make it a little bit slower. And I've drawn a wonderful MIDI pattern where it goes up from F all the way to A sharp, and then down to D sharp, and that's a wonderful... with a break as well is great. But what we really want to add today is the convolution layer. Give it that extra detail and fizz and wonderfulness. That's how it sounds on its own, but we can easily manipulate it and make it into anything that you want. However, I was just designing it while listening to the original to create something that went together, filling out the missing harmonics, if you will, adding some extra texture and movement in the high end. Okay, and there's many different ways you can do it. You don't have to do the settings that I've done. But as I am, you know, somewhat of someone who's very, very careful about the details, and I want to get the most power in my sound, I don't want to put the spacer directly on the channel of the main sound. I want to put it on a layer and then design it and then mix it in, EQ it and everything. I want to use it to make new harmonics. So it's a great way that we can make new harmonics. So if I went back to the original sound, then, you know, I've just bounced out the Captain Rando ARP first off, you know, so we've got 2 layers, you know, and now for this FX layer, we're going to put on the spacer. And what I've loved about it is, well, 2 things, well, actually 3 things I love about it. 1, you've got a convolution reverb, which sounds sick. Because it's got those nice and tighty, whitey settings. Like, I don't quite have a 50 millisecond one, but they've got 250 millisecond, which is pretty tight enough. I often use the kilohertz convolution, you know, which is paid, but this is pretty much just as good, and it's free, so wonderful business. White blur 250 milliseconds. You know, that's wonderful. You could just leave it like that and have that as a convolution layer. You know, and then you've got, like, you know, some extra harmonics. Obviously, it's a little bit digitally, you know, and a bit weird. That's one thing that's great about it. The other thing that's great about it is the grain delay, which is just wow. So with this one, if I'll just put it back to just the effects lane only. You can go on the time mode, change the delay, make it nice and short. Grain size. That's great because it really chops it up, and you can probably make it a bit smoother than I have here. But I'm running that then into the convolution reverb. Because then it doesn't sound quite as digital because it's chopping it all around and doing a load of weird movement to it, so it's not quite, you know, so robotic sounding. So anyway, I can mix. What I've done is I've mixed them both like to 60 or 70% or so. Try to find a good balance, and I've done it again listening to the original sound and how they react together, because I'm making a layer to fit with it, you know. So I can mix the amounts here. You know, so I've got a little bit of that grain delay movement and a bit of that, quite a lot of that convolution reverb. There's other 2 things. There's like a normal reverb, a normal delay, but there's another one which is a grain reverb, and I can't really remember how this one sounds. I only used a small amount of it, but let's have a listen. You know, I've already like convoluted it and delayed it a lot, so this is just like, it's going a bit overboard at this point, but I thought I'd mix it in a little bit. Just giving it a slightly longer tail, perhaps. Anyway, the other really great thing about this is the chorus, and here again I can take what would have been maybe if the harmonics were a bit too static still and not quite interesting enough. I mean, this one I've done like a fast like rate and quite a high amount of mix, and that's giving like a massive pitch movement on it, you know. But that's, as it's a background layer that I'm making, that can be quite useful actually to pitch it around quite crazily. So you'll hear it a bit more, you know, in different spots. So let's mix that again, just the chorus here. And I'm aware it's a subtle convolution layer that I'm adding, but you know, that main Captain Rando ARP is already like massively powerful, so there's not like so much space for adding new layers on. Obviously with a different sound, like you might be able to, you could obviously make a layer that was like, you know, much more obvious and in your face, you know, but this can do that little thing as well where you want to add like an extra 10 or 20% of detail on a sound with a little bit of like weirdness in the high end. This is going to be great for that. And yeah, the utility as well is wicked, because here you can actually, if you listen back to just the FX layer on its own again here one more time, you can actually add in like loads of new high end if you need it. You can do some harsh mix as well. Messing with the stereo effect, you know, and if I just like make this a little bit less crazy with the chorus. Okay, that's my convolution layer, sort of, you know, with all that grain delay on it as well. And then obviously to blend it back in with the original sound, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out a bunch of the low end for this, you know. So I've got these nice moving harmonics in the high end, and then I'm just going to add a little side chain to like give it a bit of extra breathing space as well. So back with the original then. So yeah, really, really great. I'm sure we can use it in many, many different scenarios and settings, but I think it's definitely worth a grab, especially for that grain delay and the convolution as well. There's loads of there's obviously, you can do big, long reverbs. There's many options in there. You don't have to do like a short little thing like I was fiddling around with. You can do loads of other better stuff probably. But yeah, the chorus also sounds wicked, and I love also the presence in the air, so you can like add in that high end boost if you want. So that is epic. I'm really enjoying that. I'm going to use that a lot more because I feel I can get more accurate like convolution layers created for my particular sounds by just messing with the multiple options that there are within it. It's a little bit easier than just using the kilohertz convolver or just a convolver and then EQing it, because you can get some like extra different movements in, which are going to separate the harmonics more from the original, so it's going to add like fresher textures on top. So I like that a lot. Yeah, just wanted to share that with you guys really quickly. I didn't want to keep too much of your time. Perhaps if you've got 1 minute, I'll just read a couple of shout outs from yesterday. I already did some shout outs yesterday, but I think already a few of you guys have reached out, so really appreciate that as always. So just giving just 3 shout outs to Mike Briggs as always, Darotum as well, who says about I did a little sort of mindset video. They don't get many views usually, but I just like doing them, and some people really like them. But I just made a little video about, you know, how you can keep inspired while you're not actually making music. And Darotum says, yeah, watch a film about anything that interests you, not just music. I agree. You can gain some inspiration from a theme of a track, And you might even come across some sounds or voice lines to sample. Thrillers and horrors are well inspiring. Yeah, I completely agree with you, mate. Films in general inspire me. I was just making a point that films specifically about music might be like slightly more inspiring directly to your music making. However, films in general, as long as it's a good film, makes me feel inspired 100%. I am Protos as well. Left a lovely comment as well, which really related to what I just said a minute ago. I really like that your community has grown large enough that you can make these niche videos about the little things for music producers. One of the things I do for inspiration is to draw directly from my life. I agree, I do that too. I think about stuff I geek out about and inject it into my productions. We are very alike there, sir. From video games to skateboarding or hip-hop, all great things. Skateboarding is cool, I'm just terrible at it. I used to be a skater, but I probably did a kickflip maybe once, but I was able to ollie, but that was about as far as it went. I try to think about how I can sprinkle the essence of the things that I've enjoyed over the years to colour my tunes. That is so dope, bro. That is exactly how I try and approach music making. As always, mad kudos as always, he says. And yes, although this community has grown large enough to do these videos, if you look back to my really early videos, I actually started out with a little series called the Producer Mindset, and I would just sort of go walking around like random little parks near where I live, set up a tripod and just talk to the camera like an idiot and just talk about my ideas and how you can keep a positive and creative mindset to making music. And that's kind of what this video is about, I suppose, the one I'm linking above. Yeah, essentially I've been doing that since the beginning. It's just that type of content doesn't get as many views as how to make a bass like ... But anyway, thanks for watching, my G's. I love you very much. I hope you can enjoy this free plugin as much as I have. I think it's going to be a great little weapon to use in my arsenal for creating some extra grainy, convoluted detail layers for the key sounds in my tracks. So well worth a shout. And big ups to Spectral Audio Plugins for dropping that, because it looks very professional and probably shouldn't be free, but it is, so that's great. All right, my G's, I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Have a very productive day. Much love.